It's Monday, September 8th, 2025, and time for your Monday Micro Update. Thanks so much for watching. Let's take a quick look at our Montgomery County numbers for the last 7 days before we dive into what is happening. We've got 168 new listings, 140 under contract, 74 closed sales, 71 price changes, 6 expireds, and 49 currently on the private network. So more listed than going under contract. So we've got some interesting things happening right now in our real estate market. One of which is that we do have interest rates coming down. Finally, slowly but surely. So interest rates are in about the mid sixes right now, which is great. I know some people are even getting low sixes, and all of that is, of course, dependent upon your credit score and debt to income ratio and all of those things. But we are seeing mortgage rates headed in the right direction. The Federal Reserve is meeting next Tuesday, and they are likely going to do a 25-point basis cut to the federal prime rate. So that is going to continue to hopefully have those interest rates go down. Now, when the Feds cut interest rates last year in both September and October, mortgage rates went up because inflation went up, but we're seeing a much different market right now. We have a very weak job market, a weakening job market, not a very weak job market, but a weakening job market, which is what we need to have the Federal Reserve feel confident in lowering the prime rate so that we can spur the economy. So we do anticipate that they will do a 25-point basis cut next week, which will help mortgage rates. Hopefully, they are not directly correlated, but hopefully that will continue rates headed in the right direction. Now, an important thing to keep in mind when we're talking about interest rates is that we still have a very large population of homeowners with those lower rates below 4%. We've got about 40% of all homeowners that do not have a mortgage at all. So they have their homes completely paid off. But of those remaining people with mortgages, about 4%, 40% are between 3 and 4%, 20% are below 3%. So we've got about 60% of mortgages that are below 4%. So that's tough to argue with. So we have a lot of people who are still not motivated to give up their low interest rate unless their life circumstances are encouraging them or are more important than their rate, which for a lot of people, it just isn't. But we do have some people who are finally kind of seeing the writing on the wall that rates are never going to be 3 or 4% again, likely, certainly not in the near future. So they're kind of getting that like, okay, well, if we want to move, we've been waiting and time's up. Like, it's not going to get better. This is in terms of mortgage rates. And so if we want to move, now is as good a time as any. So we are seeing some of that. So some people coming off the fence just because they were waiting for rates to be 3 or 4% again. And finally, they're starting to believe that actually is not going to happen, even though we've been saying it for a couple of years. But even a few years ago, I remember when rates were at the 2 and 3% in 2022, I remember thinking to myself, this is great right now, but this is going to be problematic in a few years. And here we are. And it's going to take a while before more and more people either have paid off their homes or don't have those rates anymore because they've been forced to move for other reasons. So therefore, for a while, we are still going to see those low interest rates playing a part in our real estate market. We still have affordability, obviously a big issue for a lot of people, which is why we are still seeing the average age of the first-time home buyer is 38 years old. It's the oldest it's ever been. That is due to affordability. 56 is still the average age of the current buyer in the market. That's your move-up buyer, people who are maybe retiring early and deciding that they want to downsize, or some people are wanting to upsize. We are seeing more and more older people over the age of 55, who actually want a bigger home because they want people coming home for Christmas, the holidays. They want to host things. They want the grandkids at home, all of those things. And so we are seeing some of those buyers being move-up buyers, which is kind of interesting. So important things to keep in mind, interest rates are coming down. We are seeing them in the right direction. They are consistently moving lower, not rapidly. Typically, interest rates go up very rapidly, but they come down very slowly. So we're seeing that is true. Price and condition are still very, very important to the buyers in the market. We are seeing contracts still falling apart at 16%. That's the highest they've ever been. So a home will go under contract and then the buyer will cancel the deal for whatever reason. Sometimes it's inspection related. Sometimes it's that they get their mortgage payment at that particular price and tax rate and they freak out and realize they don't want to spend that much. Sometimes it's a job change. So there's a lot of different factors that are causing the cancellation rate to be as high as it is. And so condition is a really big issue. We've had a couple deals that have fallen apart because people do an inspection and maybe they don't find anything massively wrong, but between the payment that they're at and the condition, meaning they're going to have to do a couple of repairs, they're freaking out and canceling. We're seeing it higher than we've ever had before. So that is something to consider too. If you're a seller, something you might want to consider doing is either a pre-listing inspection, or just keep in mind that you might need to get multiple offers, because if the first contract falls apart, you've got backup offers. I know that's a strategy that I like to use, so that we always have like, okay, we've got another buyer that wants to buy the house. We're pricing the home aggressively so that we can end up with multiple offers and have backup offers should the first deal fall apart, because that is a really big factor in this market. So it's an interesting market. Like we talked about last week, we've still got homes selling really fast, under 500,000 with multiple offers and selling in a couple of days. And then the higher price listings, we're seeing more inventory. We're seeing them on the market a little bit longer. We're seeing buyers have more leverage in that price point. So it's a really difficult market to navigate, but we'll get through it. And it's probably going to be like this for quite a while. Interest rates coming down is helpful, but it's not going to fix it unless interest rates were to go under 4%, which I don't anticipate that being the case anytime soon. But if that, so this is going to kind of be how it's at. We've got motivated buyers that are being very picky still. They're very motivated, but they're very picky. We've got sellers that are motivated, but they're also not willing to give their house away. So it's kind of this tug of war between buyers and sellers in some cases. So it's difficult to navigate, but if you have questions, I'm here for you. I always want to be a resource and try and help you navigate in the best way possible. So call me if you have any questions. I'm at 815-529-0777. Hope you have a great rest of your Monday. Bye-bye.